Hey guys, JMM Review here and welcome back to the next 7 days to die video. This video is all about resource management and how to collect the best resources. In terms of building, really, it's not really a video about collecting resources to survive, like food and water. It's just purely about getting your first building materials, because you'll want to have a decent base for day 7 whenever there's that day 7 wave. And that's what I want to show you in these videos. I want to show you eventually a really good base that I kind of come up with. But you have to take it one step at a time in this game, and first of all make a low maintenance base. I'm going to show you how to build a base right off the bat, really, and just using the materials around you without having to anything too fancy. In my previous video I showed you that you should think about building near a forge or have an idea where there's a forge nearby, and in this video I'm going to show you what you can do with that forge just to get tools. Like the base I'm showing you, all you really need is wood, so don't worry too much if you're not near a forge or you don't have anything. The reason I'm showing you how to get better tools is just because it's quicker. It'll be quicker to collect resources and also to build your base, and also quicker for me. So I'm going to show you how to really quickly do that. So like I said, the base is mostly made of wood, but actually the first thing that I start, the first resource I go for is steel, because it's the hardest to get, or it's probably the most time consuming, and it's the most important for us building our tools up. Really what we're doing here is just trying to get good tools right off the bat. To get steel we first need to collect iron. The iron can be placed in a forge and smelt it to get forged iron and eventually steel. The best place to get this early on is in boulders. Just break them up and you'll get small amounts of steel. You don't really need that much at the start. At this stage we're really just using it to create some better tools. Later on when we start mining, you can mine large areas of raw iron, which is by far the best way to get it. But I don't usually start mining until I have my first base set up, and also I like to get better tools before I start mining. So once you have your iron and you found a pre-made forge, go ahead and drop in coal or wood as the fuel source. Put the iron in the smelting part, as well as some stone. At this point it doesn't really matter. I replaced that with clay later on. The only reason I put the stone there is because I just had it. While I'm waiting for that iron to smelt down, I just go ahead and break up some more rocks. It's getting close to night time and I don't like to spend too much time outdoors at night. In fact, I don't spend any time, so I pretty well just get back into my house. But first, while we've got some daylight, the other thing I go for is clay. That's the other thing you'll need when you're using the forge. Clay is really easy to identify. On your map it'll be like a grey or whitish circular area, and there's lots of flowers and stuff that grow out of the clay. It's just like the normal dirt, but it's just got some moss growing on it and some flowers. So now that I've got some clay, I put that into my forge and that'll smelt down. You'd be surprised at how much stuff uses clay, so you'll find that you spend a lot of time getting clay. Eventually we will need an anvil too. There's some parts in the building that we'll need an anvil for, and I think later on you'll need that anvil anyway for some better weapons. But now that we have some clay and some iron, we can go ahead and craft some forged iron, and that's going to allow us to build some better tools. And the first one I build is the iron fire axe, because you'll want that for chopping wood. The stone axe is just so slow for chopping wood, and you need a lot of wood to build this base, so that's the first thing I build. And again, we've still got some daylight. I don't like to go indoors until about 8 o'clock, so I wait until it gets dark and go ahead. And you'll notice that my inventory is an absolute mess at this point. It's just everything's really piled up, but I don't waste any time on resource management in terms of like setting up my base and stuff like that. And the reason I don't do that is because I try and use up the daylight as best I can, and you do all that kind of stuff at night time, set up everything else at night time. I just use all the daylight time to collect the resources, and then I kind of item manage it after that. So finally, at the first night, I put down my bedroll, and now I start to try and make some sense of all this stuff I've collected. Coal and wood make really good torches, So you want to light the place up because it's going to get dark and you're not going to be able to see anything. So go ahead and light your place up, and once I've done that, I get my fire going, and I actually cook myself a little something to eat here and get some water and stuff like that. And then I start securing the downstairs of my building because zombies will come at night time. I did have to clear this area out as well, so there are weak points in most of these little pre-made houses, mostly the window parts. So I basically knock through the windows and just block it all off and put up wooden structures. It's enough to kind of slow the zombies down at the very least. It's only once I've secured my building that I start to scavenge it, once I feel a bit more secure. And then after that I start to fill up my little chest, just chucking everything in here. There's no real right or wrong way to do this for me. I just throw it all in there. It's just somewhere to clear out my inventory a little bit because it gets really full and messy. And so the rest of the night is just spent making things like iron shovels, iron pickaxes, and just maintaining the forge, making sure it's burning and stuff smelting. The one other thing we need for our base, the base that I'm going to show you in the next video, is iron bars. These iron bars are really good because you can see through them, you can stand on top of them and shoot down, and structurally they're very good. But that's the one thing you'll need an anvil for. So you have to craft this anvil using quite a lot of iron. It uses 200 iron, so but it's just wise to get this, so I go ahead and craft one of them. Whilst I'm crafting this, I can hear a screamer outside, which is kind of creepy, and luckily I had some arrows that I found, and I crafted a bow. If you want, you can make some more of these arrows as well if you've kind of found enough iron. But I got a really good shot on this screamer, and one hit killed her. And just to make sure and finish the job off, I actually shot her in the head and kind of blew her head off. But she didn't have anything on her, which kind of sucked. Oh, you'll notice that you probably thought, like, how did I get into the house then as I've blocked all off? I just make this little makeshift staircase out of wooden frames, and if I need to, I can pick those wooden frames up. I don't really secure this building that much because you're only really stopping the inevitable. You will have to fight the zombies, so I don't really care too much about this place being compromised because the whole point is I'm going to make my base really soon anyway. So any time and resources spent fortifying this first little house here is really a waste of time if you ask me, because once I get my new base I'm going to move over there. Okay, so first thing in the morning I've got all my iron tools and I just go to work, really just collecting resources. I think I collect resources until like at least until 10 o'clock in the morning. And that gives me enough to just make a start on my first few layers of my base. But what I collect is more iron and stone, as much wood as I can possibly chop down before I get bored of chopping wood, and sand. Sand is something we'll need for the pillars. Sand is also something you need once you start to make concrete structures. The best place I found sand, well, obviously the desert would be good. But I'm not really anywhere near the desert, so I find just the riverbank and if you kind of go under the river a little bit. But I just tend to just walk the perimeter of the river and just dig in front of me pretty much. So the 4 building resources you need the most for this base is wood, clay, iron and sand. So at the end of the second day, I've divided my time between collecting resources and essentially just digging the foundations for my first base. But now as it's getting dark, I have to return back to the building my forge is in and kind of hunker down for the night. After getting that screamer on the first night, I decide to throw down a few little wooden spikes just in case, and I'm really glad I did this. The next thing I'm going to show you is steel smithing, and this really completes the tools we're going to need for this build. Steel weapons are a big improvement on the iron ones, and I'm going to show you how to get them. You might be wondering why I'm repairing these wooden frames in my base. And the reason is that to unlock the steel smithing ability, your construction tools have to be up to 40. Now, naturally through playing the game, mine has went up to 12. And by repairing random wooden things, it will go up at least a few points after a couple of minutes of repairing. Now, you can imagine that naturally this would take a long time, but You have available points in the game to spend, and you can see that my available points are 41. So to speed up the process, I used 30 of my skill points on the construction tools and the other 10 points to buy the ability to unlock the steel crafting. All the while this is going on, I'm actually being attacked by a horde of zombies outside my house, and I couldn't believe it actually, because this is only the second night. So I was really glad I put these spikes down, and the way I took care of them really was to try and craft a few arrows and fire down at them and stuff. But in the end I had to just build this little line of wooden spikes inside my house and just essentially let them come in. I'm really fortunate in this playthrough that I got a schematic for the sledgehammer right off the bat, and that was another thing I used. That was another thing I crafted once I had iron in my forge. So my arrows and spikes did most of the job, but I had to take care of 2 other zombies that come in the door. While we're talking about resources, if you come across any dead dogs, make sure you use a bone shiv and actually carve up the dogs, because you'll get at least about 3 animal hide off them, and those hides really are important. They're a hard resource to come by, and you need animal hides for the forge. If you want to build your own forge, which eventually you'll want in your base, you need hides. That's the hardest thing to get for the forges. So I love when dogs come along and I kill them. I just love getting the hides off them, because it's a really hard thing to come by. Alright, so zombies taken care of. We now have the ability to craft forged steel, and this will get us our best tools. I think that about covers it for resources. The only other thing is the iron bars that you'll have to craft, but now that you've got your anvil, hopefully, you can, really clay is the one thing you'll need for them, and just keep collecting all those things I've shown you. They're not really hard to find, these things, as long as you use your map for the clay. This video is mostly just to show you how to get some good tools right off the bat. I mean, we're only on day 3 now. The second night has just passed, and we've already got some really good tools to start building our first base. And the reason I wanted to make this video was so that next video I can just focus on purely building. I don't have to worry about telling you about resources and stuff like that. So I hope you can watch the next video. I'm really looking forward to showing you how I built my base. I mean, I think that the building side of it is really the fun part of this game, and so we're all set up and ready to go. So thanks for checking out this one, and be sure to check out my base building video.